Now we're going to practice our depth of field. We're going to start by taking a look at our creative control chart. This is available for you in class, and you can take a copy of it out when you go to shoot. We're going to use it here, though, when we're working in Camera Simulator. And in Camera Sim here, we're going to be controlling our camera using AV mode, where we're going to change the aperture, but the camera will automatically change the shutter speed for us. That's aperture variable mode. When we're dealing with depth of field for practice right now, we're going to be working with subjects that are not moving. This way we don't have to be concerned with motion blur or freezing the action and depth of field at the same time. So the first question you can ask yourself is my subject moving? And if it's not, now we can focus on depth of field. With depth of field you have two options: a deep depth of field where everything is in focus, or a shallow depth of field where your subject's in focus but your background is blurred. You create a deep depth of field by setting your camera to AV mode with an F number that has a high F number, such as F16, F22, or even higher than that. These F numbers will give you a small aperture. That small aperture helps focus the light down. I think of it like a laser. Light coming through that small aperture is focused down in a small beam of light, which then gives us sharper pictures and sharper backgrounds. If we open that aperture up inside of the lens, it's going to let in more light. This will give us faster shutter speeds, allow for shooting in low light situations, and also blur the backgrounds. This will be AV mode F2 to F5.6 will create those blurred backgrounds. So let's give this a shot. Back here in Camera Sim, we have our bottle and our background, and let's take a look at our camera settings. I hit Q and open up the camera settings here. I have my camera set on AV mode, f3.5, and I do have to pay attention to my ISO and shutter speed as well. The camera is automatically picking the shutter speed for me, but I need to make sure that the shutter speed stays higher than 1/60th of a second, or else I'll get blur from my handshake, unless I want to use a tripod. This looks fine. 250th of a second is faster than 60th of a second, so let's go ahead and take this picture. You can see here my bottle's in focus, but my background here is out of focus. Let's go ahead and reshoot this picture, but this time I'm going to push my F number up to a really high number. You can see my shutter speed drop down below 1/60th of a second. It's down to 1/4 of a second now, and I'll have to raise my ISO. The cameras that we use in class, or at least most of them, have auto ISO settings when you're in AV mode. So you can choose to put the camera on auto ISO. That way you're only concerned with the aperture. There will be situations where you won't be able to choose a shutter speed like, an aperture like f29, because in low light situations that small aperture lets in a small amount of light, and even if the ISO is all the way up, your shutter speeds will be still too slow to take a picture without a tripod. But for right now, we're okay. F29, let's take a shot. Oh, there's that hand blur I was talking about. Let's try that again. Down at a 30th of a second. So that blur in that last shot was caused by too slow of a shutter speed. That wasn't depth of field. That was blur from my hand moving. One more shot. There we go. Now we got a deep depth of field. Soda machine's in focus. The soda bottle's in focus. And this was caused by F29 is what I was shooting on here. One more time. That's compared to Down here at f3.5, blurry background, bottle and focus. That is how you control your depth of field.